Okay, now that you've drawn circles on one side of the paper, flip it over and turn your board so everything is facing landscape or horizontal, so it's longer, wider than it is tall. So the first thing you're going to do in the top left corner, draw a perfect square. You could use a ruler if you want to. You can measure it if you feel like it. But basically, draw a perfect square. I'm going to do my best to just freehand a perfect square. Okay. Okay, so I have this square, right? And again, if you want to use a ruler, that's fine. And I were to connect, this corner to this corner with a straight line. And I were to connect this corner with this corner with a straight line. And then I went straight up and down through this middle line. That's going to bisect my square in half. And I do the same thing over here. Bisect it half horizontally and vertically. Basically, I get 4 perfect quadrants. From there, if I wanted to make a circle, right, I could start, my circle is going to come, tangent to these points of my square. So I make an arc. The phone itself is in the way of me drawing. It's hard to draw around the phone, but it should come out more. And basically, if you take this over, and I were to take this straight down, that's where the circle should, now it should come to here and these points as well. It should cross. So if I go there and I come tangent here, right, so I used a square to draw a circle, basically. And now, if we had that, remember that horizon line, right? Or that eye level line? And we had like that same kind of like, this is a vanishing point and everything was going towards that. Let's say we had a square on the ground like that, like a sidewalk tile or something. And we did an X again, corner to corner. Corner to corner. And again, we bisect up and down and across. The same rules still apply. It's still going to come, the circle's still going to come to these 4 points. Tangent with a square. And the places it crosses along this axis, on these sideways marks, the places where it crosses along these lines is going to still be just like this. It's going to cross at those points. So if I start with an arc that's tangent here to here, I just curve it to there, and I can see that's there, and I continue that straight, straight to that line, and I just continue that out. I get this horizontal over to here. I keep this horizontal over to here. These are the places it's going to cross along these lines. It's going to touch here, and it's going to come through that point. So I know it's going to come through that point, and it's going to come down to there. It's going to come right, through there. So it's going to curve just like that. So it's going to come through here, come tangent to there. There you are. basically. It's a circle still, but it's like it's laying on the ground, so it's using the 1-point perspective to draw a circle like it was laying on the ground. Now this is pretty important. So we're going to practice these two things, and we're going to use this to actually make a bottle in using 1-point perspective. So on the same piece of paper, just back it up a little bit. If we were to draw that, the horizontal line right through the middle for our eye level line. Right. And we were to draw the little X's out on the side, just like we did before for drawing boxes and everything else. We just have our little X's on the edges. Basically, we're going to be dealing with 1-point perspective, though, so we don't really have to worry about that too much. So, starting near the bottom, we're just going to do a cylinder. So if we were going to start from this, the cylinder went from here to, like, let's say about here. So most of the cylinder is below our eye level line, and a little bit is, some is above our eye level line. That means the base of the cylinder is going to come out to here. And we know the top is going to come down to here. First of all, I got to measure this right. It may even help you to get everything centered, which mine you can see is not centered, but it needs to be. I guess it doesn't have to be, but I want it to be, so I'm going to make it centered. Then this also goes to here. Then this also goes to here. If it's a rectangle, so we're starting with a cylinder. So a cylinder we're going to draw inside of basically a box. Perfectly, well, I wouldn't say square, but rectangular box.
Goes over down to there. Should make it straight down. And this back part is going to go up and down too. So basically our box is such. Inside the box, front leading edge, face of our box, the bottom of our box, top of the box. These are like the back walls. Alright, so we can simply draw a
cylinder, same way we drew the circle. And this doesn't matter how far it is. If it came closer to our eye level line, it would get more flat. Because basically it's coming from here. So for instance, if we had the line like here, closer to eye level line, the top of the box would be more like this. Right. So the top would be there, like that, instead of like that. So depending on where we put that, it's like a shelf, just like a shelf or something. And if our eye level is here, then we're looking at the bottom of the shelf. If it was below our eye level line, we're going to look at the top of the shelf. And it's all going to go to this 1 point, because that's where our eye is. That's where our eye level is. So, depending on the cylinder, right? So we just make the circle the same way. The arc, the same line horizontal over. It's going to come that same angle across both those. It's going to have to round around that same way. More or less. Oval there. Same thing here. It's going to have to be, tangent to tangent. Going down that way. Let's go this level across. Going towards there. Do the same thing here. Did there. Whatever. This one was much more interesting. Much more difficult to do, but it's good to do it. I don't know if I can get it dark enough because it's so small in there. So, if this was our cylinder we were trying to draw, and we just connected either one of these points, we can just connect this. Let's just do these two. It should be straight down. Straight down from here. So this is going to be the top half of our cylinder. It's going to round out like this. The bottom half of our cylinder is going to round down like deeper down. So you can end up losing, it's going to end up being blocked off. You're not going to see any of that. So basically, if you have a lower thing that's closer to the eye level line, the closer to flat it's going to be. So a shelf right here would be flat. It would be awkward. And having a cylinder that had a square top would be awkward. So you'd want to put any composition, you'd really want to put your cylinder, the edge above, slightly above, or slightly below your eye level line. If it was below, of course, if the cylinder was completely below your eye level line, and then the back is there, it would only be something like that small, and we'd have to put an ellipse in there. But that would still give you the top of the cylinder. It would still be in there. We would get the whole top of it. We get a sliver and a sliver, but you get the top of a cylinder. So try a cylinder out of a rectangle that basically goes along that, and that's basically your practice. That'll give you a good idea of how how you get something that's more round and it's getting flatter and flatter until it's flat, and then it's curving the opposite way, closer and closer to round as it goes the opposite direction. So from the eye level line, everything kind of curves more and more towards round as it goes away from it. And that's what's kind of important to understand.